We good?
Hey, good morning from Chicago. It's Lauren from Portfolio Rocket, but I also should say good morning from the Metaverse. And good morning to you, Stefanie. I am so excited that we have with us today Stefanie Smith. And please go ahead and introduce yourself. And you can even share how we know each other and how you landed in the Metaverse.
Sure, absolutely. And I should edit my name to put where I'm from because it's a different, and then I'm going to write as I talk to you.
Go for
It's a
it.
different spelling. So my name is Stefanie Smith. I met Lauren through her program, Portfolio Rocket. I am the vice president of marketing for a company called Metaverse, and it's not related to Facebook. It actually was named Metaverse back in 2016. And what Metaverse does is we are at the heart of Metaverse is a content creation platform for spatial computing. Also, it's called a game engine in the industry. I'll get to that a little bit longer. But we are very unique in that we are code optional, web-based. It makes it easy to share and create 3D spatial content and experiences to the web, to 7 billion devices with one click. I am the vice president of marketing there. It is a small startup. And how I landed there was very interesting. I worked for IKEA for 26 years. It was an amazing career. It's an amazing company. And I was ready for something new. And I knew I wanted to work in a community that was emerging and something new. And I kind of stumbled upon people who have been working in the metaverse for years, and they're very creative and they're very about accessibility, democratization, decentralization. And so, yeah, I ended up working for a company called Metaverse.
So good morning, Erica. Thank you for joining. And good morning, Marty. Thank you so much. And so for those of us who are not necessarily flush with information about the metaverse and thinking it's like some like third world, like thing out in space or virtual land or wherever, help us understand what is the metaverse and why we should be understanding at least some of the core, opportunities, buckets that live underneath it, because this is crazy, right?
That's even their estimates up to the $1 trillion. Like that, those are even kind of lowballing.
This is like lowballing what this opportunity is, and 50 billion is benchmark at 2020, and this is said to be by 2028. But like we said, this is very conservative.
Sure, absolutely. So, I mean, the metaverse, throughout this talk, I'm going to refer to a lot of people. Obviously, I'm very new to the space, right? 6 months in, I am going to speak from my direct experience about the things I'm working with, particularly for sales, marketer, creatives. But first, so I'll quote a lot of people who are original in this space. So, I mean, simply put, the metaverse is there's virtual worlds where people work, play, and socialize. So very broad. There's a gentleman named Tony Parisi, who is one of the original people in the space. He is a global head of AR, VR, and e-com for a very big game engine called Unity. Unity does amazing things. You should check them out. From content creation to, they just had a symposium on Unity for Humanity. They're super amazing. And he wrote a Medium piece called 7 Rules of the Metaverse. And the last one is the metaverse is the internet. It's kind of it's that next level of connection. It is immersive, and it is imagined by those who have been working in the space. And this is super important, to be open, interoperable, which means you can jump from world to world. You can bring your avatar and your NFT with you. It is accessible. It is really creator driven. And so those are kind of the constants for the metaverse. And right
now, I want to back up a little bit. Yeah. So I said here, it's a virtual world where people work, play, and socialize. So this should say virtual worlds where people work, play, and socialize. and it's immersive, open, accessible, and creator driven, right? So if I'm a lay person, where are some of the worlds that they play in? Give me an example of a world.
That's perfect. That's a lead into my next point, gaming. Gaming is really, so most people, most people on this call, most of us know someone who is kind of already in the metaverse, so to speak. So a game like Fortnite, immersive world, you're talking to people, you're playing a game, you're going towards a goal. And so Unreal, Fortnite is owned by Epic Games, and they have a big game engine called Unreal Engine. Roblox, younger demo generally. So being in Roblox, building games, Gucci, a lot of brands are getting into the metaverse through Roblox. Gucci had a collection there. Chipotle just did a Halloween activation within Roblox. So that's why I say worlds. And the idea is that it's interoperable and that you can port from world to world.
So if I am going to, let's just say Roblox, right? And I want to go to a different world. How do I move from world to world?
We're not there yet. And so that's kind of the process of this forming out. So there are parts of it, and there's something, one of the way I'm when I need to understand something, I have to do it top down, right? That's how I learn. I have a really hard learning bottom up. I just can't so one of the best places to look for this kind of top down, there are many, but one of my favorite to look at the overview of the metaverse, what the components are, is a gentleman called Matthew Ball is an investor. He wrote a primer for the metaverse. It's quite long, worth it, but quite long. He's involved in an investment company called Round Hill, and I can put these notes. I'll put links in and where he talks about, and Round Hill does investment in the metaverse. And no point am I endorsing these funds. There's no investment advice here coming from me, but I like the way they talk about what the components of the metaverse are. So it's computing, companies that enable computing, networking, those networks that provide the connection, virtual platforms, interchange standards. So that idea of how do you port from place to place, there are ongoing now companies building tools and protocols and formats. Then payments, obviously crypto currency is probably now the most mainstream part, not necessarily mainstream understood, but I think everyone knows what Bitcoin is by now in popular culture. And also when you talk about NFTs, non-fungible tokens, then there's payments, there's, Coinbase is a place of payment. And content, and so these are just the overviews, but
totally
content, assets, and identity services and hardware. So all of those things we're familiar with in other parts of the economy and the kind of whatever IRL. We already have interchange, we have payments, we have contents, we have hardware. And so there's a lot of parallels that exist that can act as kind of a grounding for a person's understanding of what the metaverse.
Right. So we may know what an NFT is, and NFT is one of the categories that lives underneath this massive umbrella that we are calling the metaverse.
Yes,
we understand.
This part, yes, exactly. So I have a working knowledge of blockchain and crypto and NFTs. However, that's not my direct experience in the space. So today I can't talk about what I see as opportunities for people career-wise, because again, I don't know it that well. And so I would be remiss in suggesting. I know that there are people in the call and that do that. There are people in the notes. I know, and I'll call out Marty Constant. I know she had talked about working with people, getting them into blockchain and things like that. And so there's a wealth of resources, and I'm going to drop some of those at the end of the talk as well.
So we will include the links. Thank you, Stefanie, for doing that. But back to, the kind of if you are listening to this, whether you're a coach, whether you are somebody who is looking to make a job change or career move, there are, I don't even know how many subcategories that live underneath this, but the point is it's very sizable. And so give us some idea about who might be a prime candidate to take that transferable knowledge. Wait, Stefanie, you're frozen. I can't tell whether you're back. Steph, are you there? Hello, Stefanie. Let me try this another way. This is always good when we're going live. Let's see what we can do. I just texted, yep, I'm now frozen. Okay, she's freezing. So let's see if we can take her out and we'll get her back in a minute. Sorry, guys. We'll keep this going. As you can tell, she ended up in some kind of metaverse while we're live. So we're just troubleshooting a little bit, and I will share some of these. Thank you, Marty. You're our backup today. Wow, look at all of these amazing resources. So great. Dan Mape's book. I hope I said his name correctly. It says here, Marty, awesome. It says Caitlin is at Stanford. She did not put, oh, here she is. She's back again. Thank you.
Our internet.
Right.
Sorry
Yay.
about that.
No worries. So we were talking a little bit about who is somebody prime for opportunities in here. If you have X background, how might that be very useful in terms of leveraging your experience to move into one of those opportunities?
Yeah, sure. I would love to talk about it because all I see are transferable skills in this space. It's been my direct experience. So if I'll go a little bit, so I joined Metaverse. Again, the game engine part, I am not a creative. I'm not an engineer. I can't code. I don't know JavaScript. And even with a no code engine, I'm a little lost. However, I'm a marketer and I spent 26 years in retail. So this, our Metaverse studio creates immersive experiences for brands and enterprise organizations around training, around virtual stores, and around virtual branded experiences. So I am responsible for both marketing the Metaverse brand and also which is the umbrella for both the engine and the studio. And then I work a lot with pitch development for the studio. So there's nothing but the opportunity for creatives, UX designers. I'll go through these in a minute. Account managers, communications professionals, PR professionals,
Wow.
kind of general marketers, because the whole metaverse is about connection. It's about engagement. It's about immersion. And so, like we said, younger generations are there with gaming right now. Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and Roblox and gaming. They will expect that their branded experiences are 3D as well. That's where we're moving. And so if you are a creative, if you are a creative, start trying any one of the engines, including the Metaverse engine, Unity, Unreal, to start creating 3D assets. It'll be hugely in-demand skill.
So I put in this here, right? Transferable skills, market for marketers in retail, branding, and then I also included UX, content creators, folks with PR backgrounds, and other creatives. It could
Right.
be a creative director. It could be somebody who is, specializing in gaming. That seems pretty obvious.
But it doesn't even have to be gaming. It's really industry agnostic, because if you're creating something, whether it's a direct mail piece or an immersive world, you need to work with a brief. You need to understand the client's goals, objectives, how they'll measure this thing that they're buying from you. Then you need to understand the assets they bring to it. You need to understand a timeline on how that creation and the approval process goes. You need to have stakeholder management through the project.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, like the immersive worlds are insane and they're cool. And the creation of them does require new skills, say, than a website or a billboard or any other piece of 2D creative that you have. But the process by which you create it is very much the same.
Okay, so you're saying, on many levels, it's industry agnostic. And what are the new skills so if I'm a marketer, right? Somebody just, let's
Yep.
just call me like marketer. In order to be successful as somebody who's a marketer in the metaverse, what do I need to up level or to upskill for?
I think that's a great question. I don't know that you need to, I mean, it's still audience. I'm sorry if I'm giving back feedback. It's still about message, audience, benefits. So in some ways, there's not necessarily new skills, but you certainly need to get a thorough understanding of the market, of how the consumer uses the product, about where it's going. I think it's more about your background knowledge of the industry, the consumer, and the organizations who are involved. The other thing, as a marketer or a salesperson, when you're working through it, there are different stakeholders when you're creating something. And so you have to understand that nuance as well.
Like what's a new kind of stakeholder that lives in the metaverse?
It's not, well, the metaverse, when it's anchored in organizations, everyone's still trying to kind of find where it lives, where immersive experiences live. And I'm talking about enterprise brands. So there is, sometimes like Nike just talked about, like Nike has a head of murder. Some people are now having heads of metaverse. Sometimes
Wow.
it's in the innovation department, sometimes it's digital, sometimes it's marketing, sometimes it's e-com. So you have to be really fluid in your language and understanding of who on the client side is involved in creating the experience.
Wow. That's really cool. So there's a proliferation or a busting out of how the metaverse is living in organizations, and it could be living under innovation. It could be living under, could it be living under digital?
No, yeah, it's absolutely probably. I don't want to say most often because I don't have that answer yet, to be quite honest with you. As a marketer, who has really a cool, both the engine as a SaaS product and the studio as a a production studio. Still understanding where those clients live.
Perfect. So just the way that when we write for mobile, it may be different than how we write for web, because
Absolutely.
the platforms are nuanced and different. The
Right.
same person that is using their desktop there's a different kind of nuance in the language and in the audience for mobile. Same holds true as we move into the metaverse.
That's exactly it. And that's one of my examples. Remember when we all started to make mobile websites and took desktops and then just smushed them into mobile phones? And it was like, oh, that doesn't look so good. Same thing. Yeah. So, and that's why I bring up UX designers as well.
Awesome. So I want to just pause for a minute because Claire is a queen when it comes to asking great questions. And it says, Stefanie Smith, what is the biggest missed opportunity for those who think, I'm not sure about jumping into this metaverse thing?
I think I'll back up and say, I understand people thinking I'm not sure about jumping in, because a lot of it to me does look, a lot of it is, particularly on the NFT and the crypto side, is very speculative, right? So I think there's some, in my opinion, it's wise to be cautious in certain parts of how the metaverse is building out. I think the biggest missed opportunity, again, is not understanding how much you can bring to this, not understanding how similar it is, like I said, in process, not necessarily in exact creation, to things. If you are a creative, a marketer, a UX designer, a project manager, how similar it is and how easily you can move into the space.
So yes, and I think that also great point, Marty. Head of Metaverse. That's a great job title, Stefanie Smith. Digital innovation strategy are all good places for top thinkers. Also, UX designers, like you said, will have great opportunities. So I think that what's happening here is that as somebody who has been on any of these kind of precursor areas like digital innovation or strategy or UX, right? This is just another, and I would say low barrier right now because it's emerging. So the opportunity to actually take advantage of this newer version of digital and web and all of these other virtual universes is happening right now.
Right.
So like if you are looking for a way to augment, not augment reality, augment your career, start opening your mind to these kinds of opportunities. And we're going to share with you some of the links so that you can build that lexicon and understand some of the nuances within the industry to more or less, like build your muscle so that you have both your pre-existing knowledge layered with this.
And I think also you have to, be ready to move fast, be ready to be like some, a lot of people I know are at the top of their game. They've been working, they worked up through agencies or brand, and they know that I knew my organization inside and out. I knew global players. You do have to be ready to be super humble, super confused for a lot of it, right? Like you have to be open and willing to be all of those things, to ask, I don't understand. What does this mean? How does this connect? So those might be things that we, especially if you're like me, you're like a later mid to late career person, that you're so used to knowing everyone and knowing what's going on and knowing the space. It's a new place. You just have to be ready to be humble, but also be excited, be curious, be fast, and get all of those kind of quick things back.
Well, I also really like that. I think that that's a huge plus. I said embrace ambiguity and remain humble and ask a lot of questions, right? So the good news is that nobody's expecting you to be, like the expert, because it's still not fully baked. I mean, it's still like in its very early stages. So that gives you a lot of permission and allowance to be able to do some fumbling.
Yeah.
That's
and people
cool.
who've been in this space have been there for years, making the coolest thing. They like wrote the original code. I mean, these are people who you couldn't possibly, like all you can do is ask them questions and learn from them. And the reason that I was so attracted to this community is they're psyched to talk to you about it. I think there's a woman named Caitlin Krause that Marty's mentioning. I met her last week at the Augmented World Expo conference. And that was a conference with people who've been in this game for years and years. I mean, the term was coined by Neil Stephenson in 92 in a novel called Snow Crash. And so as long as you are coming into this space wanting to be open, democratized, as long as you're not trying to take over, or people will welcome you with open arms. They'll connect with you on LinkedIn. They'll have Zoom calls with you. They'll explain anything that you ask them to. It's amazing.
Wow.
How
okay,
kind.
So for any job seeker that says, I can't get anybody on the phone, it's so hard to network. It's like these people are raising their hand. Let us help you. Let us, we are embracing you as a talent. We want you to join us as we build out areas of the metaverse and, continue to, make this inclusive community. So, kind of like this is a no excuse zone. It's emerging. It's creative. It incorporates so many amazing verticals within it. So tell us also, like Stefanie, like you know how LinkedIn works very well. In fact, as I recall, this is how you landed your job at
It is. I talk to people
through comments, everyone, through comments.
Through comments, because I found a plan still today. So I joke that like I left IKEA, I was looking for a new opportunity. I knew I wanted to start up. I knew I wanted to be in emerging areas. I looked into some different emerging areas and I kind of stumbled upon this. And I joke like I talked to people on the internet for the better part of a year. And yeah, through comments. And even the other day, this space is moving so fast. There's all of the acquisitions and there's so many moving pieces. Like I said, I do not understand a lot of it. And so I just the other day put a comment out to one of my LinkedIn connections, and he wrote he suggested an acquisition was a weak signal. And I was like, oh, tell me more. And I felt perfectly comfortable in a public comment being like, I don't get that. What do you mean by that? And he wrote back. So, yeah, like I said, just there's a couple people I suggest you follow. Twitter is actually a really great space for this, particularly when you talk about the lexicon. I picked up a lot of lexicon of both startup and this metaverse space on Twitter. Yeah.
So when I go to Twitter, what should I look under?
I looked under the now you can look under metaverse because it's kind of exploded since Mark Zuckerberg made his announcement in the summer.
Yeah.
But you can look at AR, VR, XR. Trying to think of, now you can look at, like I said, under metaverse, you can look under crypto, you can look under.
So if you want to like kind of have some tools and language around this, you can go to Twitter and help build up some of the terminology or the lexicon surrounding it. I would imagine that LinkedIn too has some good intel.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing I think that you can do, start with your Google search words, Google alerts, Google alert. XR is hard because it pulls up the Apple phone. XR is extended reality. It's an umbrella term, but obviously you can put I follow virtual showroom, I follow vStores, I follow AR, VR, and metaverse.
Okay, so I want to just include these. So if you understand that following people on LinkedIn can help curate your feed so that you are getting information from a more finite group of content creators and people that you can essentially liaise with to take conversations from online to offline. Some of the people that would be beneficial for you to follow if you are exploring opportunities in the metaverse would be, can you share those again, Stefanie?
Sure. I mean, I think, and I do this for my Google alerts as well. So obviously hashtag metaverse, hashtag AR, VR, XR. Spatial computing is a more kind of technical term. So those, and I think I want to call out something very interesting that Marty put in the comments. I am very lucky to have one in-house and one part-time in-house consultants in this space. And those are my 15-year-old and my 19-year-old. The 19-year-old's a gamer and the 15-year-old is just insanely culturally aware. So definitely start to talk to nieces, nephews, your kids, neighbors. I have 2 little neighbors. I'm interested, like little neighbors, see how they work about this space because they're our future, they're the future.
That's your future audience. So set up, if anybody doesn't know this trick, this is very powerful. It keeps you abreast. Set up Google alerts for obvious terms that would live under the metaverse, right? AR, VR, metaverse. Other things you might do, NFT or Bitcoin or, any of the other areas that we've explored here. You can even do it for, I would imagine, crypto or interchange platforms.
Yeah.
What that will do is it'll start to give you, regular information about who's participating, articles to keep you current about these topics. And then you have essentially a knowledge bank when you are having informational interviews, when you are having real interviews, so that you are up to speed on what is happening in the category. So those are really, really helpful. And I just want to also ask you for followers, actual people.
Yep.
On LinkedIn.
Couple of things. Let me talk just about a couple more things, like to really get started, create something either on a game engine, our metaverse game engine. I'm pushing it. Obviously I work there, but it's easy because it's low code. So you can go into, I put our, or Unreal or on Unity, get a Roblox account, create a Roblox game.
Okay. So the first step is if you want to be exploring this, I'm going to say create something, right? Yeah. Create something. And you can do that on, yours is spelled Meta
VRSE. So the Metaverse engine, it's Metaverse Metaverse.com.
Right. So create something on metaverse.com
Or another engine, Unreal, Unity.
and Unity, Unreal.
Mm-hmm. Unreal is Epic Games engine.
Okay.
Or go to Roblox and build a game. It's easier than you think.
And this also, remember guys, if you're going to be exploring opportunities in a category, you got to be it to attract it. If you're not, if you have this understanding and you've created something, it starts to build your credibility and validation that you're a player in this world, right? So create something is the first step.
Borrow a headset. Probably know someone who has a VR headset and just experience that immersive.
So where would I buy one if I wanted one?
Anywhere online. The most popular is the Oculus, the Facebook brand. I think they're now Meta. You can buy, I think you can still buy cardboard ones from Google. There's a new one that's from HT Hive. You can find it easily. Just Google VR headset. And again, you probably know someone who owns one. I'm going to say that right now. If you just
own one?
My son does.
Okay.
I want, sounds awful. I want Apple. Everyone says that I read an investor thing. It's not the metaverse, not real till Apple jumps in the game.
Okay, so borrow a headset and get into the experience.
Yeah, get into the experience. Costco, so Claire put in Costco has them, or Amazon. Okay. Yeah, you can buy them. But again, if you I bet you somebody has one.
Oh my God. Okay.
So I think that's kind of we have I'm part of a women's group called XR Women. I think Marty, you should be part of that if you're not. And there's a bunch of people in the comments. A woman named Caitlin Krause is part of that. Marty mentioned her. That I am telling you, the stuff that these women do, the projects, most are not commercial. Mind blowing.
Okay, and the name of that again? I'm so sorry.
XR.
XR?
Mm-hmm. XRwomen.com.
And where is that group?
You can go, that's xrwomen.com online, and it'll show you how to get in. The meetings take place in a virtual world called Verbella. So, but go to XR Women. It's less overwhelming than you think. I promise.
My God, I have to do this. I'm so excited, and it's like so cool. Okay.
I know. And the stuff that these women are making, like I said, films and nonprofit experiences. We had a woman working with VR with Hope for Haiti. Just mind-blowing inspirationally. And go to webinars. For who to follow, the Tony Parisi was the person. TonyParisi is the gentleman from Unity that wrote the 7 Rules of the Metaverse. You may actually already have that on your LinkedIn feed somewhere. There's a woman named Kathy Hackl, CathyHackl. Kathy has an Adweek podcast. She has a column in Forbes, and she is again. And when I'm speaking very tightly to kind of our marketing, advertising, creation, and then my boss, our co-founder, Alan Smithson, ALAN.
Okay, I am such a. I'm just banging away at the keys. So I missed Kathy. I know that you said Kathy.
Sure. So Kathy, CathyHackl.
Kathy Hackl.
Yep. And then Alan, ALAN.
Yep.
SMITHSON.
Okay. So we're wrapping this up here. I kept this a little bit longer because you were in the metaverse frozen, but these are 2 other people that you can follow. So follow Tony Parisi, follow Kathy Hackl, and Alan Smithson. So these are people who are quote unquote influencers within the metaverse space. You can start to get involved with those conversations on LinkedIn. You can certainly see what they're posting. Start to get your feet wet. Clearly this is a huge opportunity. Somebody like Mark Zuckerberg changed the name of his company in order to support this. So this is such an amazingly robust area categorized today under the future of work and opportunities that live in places that are accessible to you if you're a job seeker and want to explore something that is kind of the next generation of innovation. I would say this is definitely something that you should be paying attention to and starting to build your skill set and think about areas where you can transfer your pre-existing skills, as Stefanie talked about, marketing, branding, PR, creative, UX. So there's a lot of buckets that are going to be feeders into this area. So, definitely, if you're thinking about how to kind of build out your skill set so that you have job security and also an area where you are current in the marketplace, explore this. And Stefanie, thank you a million.
If anyone wants to talk about their journey or wants understanding of my journey, feel free to link out. My name is spelled with an F. That's usually the one thing that messes people up. So it's
right. So Stefanie Smith, and Stefanie also, like, huge. I mean, I've learned so much from Stefanie. She is just one of those people that always has her, finger on the pulse of what is happening, no question, right? And let me get this off so that we're not talking about Kathy Hackle at the same time. So Stefanie Smith, look her up on and follow her on LinkedIn. She is a huge, not only wealth of knowledge, but incredibly generous in helping people to be able to understand new and emerging categories and make connections.
Yeah, come on in, the water's just fine, as they used to say. Thank you so much, Lauren. This is exciting. Thank you, everyone in the comments. Really,
yes, robust comments. Yes. Thank you for everything, Stefanie. Huge fan of yours, and love how you took your 26-year enterprise level career and moved it into the most cutting edge area. And as you said, this is not your first rodeo. So this can be done, and it happened. This was an opportunity that was a hidden job market. It was not published anywhere. It happened through the comments and building relationships. So if you want to know more about how to do that and land incredible opportunities that aren't necessarily visible, give me a shout. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful, wonderful, amazing day. And thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.